They rode into the West chasing fame and never came back the same. These westerns didn't just break the box office, they broke the people who starred in them. The western genre gave us legends, but behind the dusty towns and showdowns, these films took a toll that fame couldn't fix. From physical injuries and mental breakdowns to career-killing controversies, some actors paid a brutal price. These are the westerns that left lasting scars on bodies, reputations, and souls. Let's break down the roles that didn't just define careers, they nearly destroyed them. 1. Heaven's Gate, 1980, Kris Kristofferson. Michael Cimino's Heaven's Gate became a cautionary tale in Hollywood history. The original $11 million budget exploded to over $44 million due to Cimino's obsessive perfectionism, reshooting scenes over and over, sometimes more than 50 times. Kris Kristofferson, playing a Harvard-educated lawman caught in a brutal war between cattle barons and immigrants, endured 200 grueling shoot days in rugged Montana terrain. Kristofferson, who had recently risen to stardom in A Star Is Born, watched helplessly as the production spiraled out of control. The long delays, physical exhaustion, and negative press coverage eroded his confidence. When the film finally released, it bombed catastrophically. Kristofferson's association with the failure crushed his career momentum, and by his own admission, he turned increasingly to alcohol. He spent much of the early 80s in a fog of depression, saying in later interviews that the film nearly broke him. 2. The Misfits, 1961, Marilyn Monroe. The Misfits was the final completed film for both Marilyn Monroe and Clark Gable, and it carried a heavy emotional toll. Shot in the blistering Nevada desert, the production was marred by extreme heat, on-set conflicts, and personal tragedies. Monroe was in the midst of a breakdown, struggling with barbiturate addiction and on the verge of divorce from playwright Arthur Miller, who wrote the film specifically for her. Monroe collapsed multiple times during filming, leading to production halts. Her emotional instability was exacerbated by the strain of playing a woman desperate for love and belonging, a role eerily mirroring her real life. Co-star Montgomery Clift, also battling addictions and personal demons, later called it the saddest experience of my life. Gable died just 12 days after filming wrapped. Monroe followed 18 months later. According to crew members, the set was haunted by a quiet doom, and Monroe's vulnerability during filming was no act. It was an unraveling, captured on screen. 3. My Name Is Nobody, 1973, Terence Hill. This Italo-French-American production was meant to blend slapstick comedy with traditional Western grit. Terence Hill starred as the mythical nobody opposite Henry Fonda in his final Western role. The film was ambitious, shifting tones between satire and homage to the dying West, but behind the scenes, Hill was enduring a personal nightmare. Shortly after production ended, Hill's adopted son, Russ, died in a car crash at the age of 16. The loss was devastating. Hill had taken the role hoping to explore new creative directions, but the tragedy overshadowed everything. He retreated from acting for a significant period, appearing in only a few films over the next several years. Friends said he lost all interest in fame, and even decades later, Hill rarely discussed My Name Is Nobody. The film became a permanent reminder of unbearable grief. 4. The Wild Bunch, 1969, William Holden. Sam Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch is now considered a cinematic masterpiece, but its creation was a war zone. Shot in the Mexican desert under brutal conditions, the film demanded intense physicality and emotional range from its aging cast. William Holden, portraying gang leader Pike Bishop, was already battling alcoholism and a reputation for volatility. The 57-year-old actor drank heavily on set, sometimes starting before noon. The heat often topped 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and Peckinpah encouraged real emotion, even rage, from his actors. Crew members reported fistfights, blackouts, and nervous breakdowns during the production. Holden's performance was lauded, but the experience left him physically drained and emotionally detached. His drinking worsened afterward, and though he worked steadily in the 70s, he grew increasingly reclusive. In 1981, he died after falling and hitting his head while drunk, alone, and undiscovered for days. 5. Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, 1974, Warren Oates. This bleak, violent film pushed Warren Oates into dangerously raw emotional territory. Directed by Sam Peckinpah, Alfredo Garcia was a passion project, but one fueled by the director's worsening drug abuse, paranoia, and antagonism. Oates played Benny, a washed-up pianist who descends into madness chasing a bounty for a severed head. Oates, who idolized Peckinpah, immersed himself in the role, so much so that friends said he never fully returned to himself. The actor admitted later that the character mirrored Peckinpah's own disintegration, and Oates took that darkness home with him. Peckinpah encouraged heavy drinking on set, and both men indulged relentlessly. Oates' health declined rapidly in the following years, and his once promising trajectory never recovered. He died in 1982 of a heart attack at just 53, exhausted, bitter, and forgotten by an industry he gave everything to. 6. Paint Your Wagon, 1969, Lee Marvin. Marvin was drunk for most of the production. Playing Ben Rumson in this musical western, he delivered slowed dialogue and was reportedly hard to direct. The set was chaotic, bad weather, delays, and cost overruns. Marvin's alcoholism worsened under pressure. Though the film was a box office draw, Marvin's reputation took a hit, and he later admitted it nearly derailed his career. 7. Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, 1973. Sam Peckinpah, director. This one broke the man behind the camera. Peckinpah fought endlessly with MGM over cuts, rewrites, and creative control. He turned to cocaine and alcohol to cope, lashing out at cast and crew. The stress wrecked him, mentally and physically. The studio butchered the final cut. His career nosedived, and he never regained his peak after this soul-crushing experience. 8. The Outlaw, 1943. Released widely in the 1950s, Jane Russell. Russell was just 19 when Howard Hughes cast her in The Outlaw. The film's scandalous promotion focused on her body more than her acting. Though not physically harmed, Russell was objectified in every media appearance, turned into a sex symbol without her consent. She faced harassment, stereotyping, and a long battle to be seen as anything more than a pin-up girl, despite real talent. 9. The Missouri Breaks, 1976, Marlon Brando. Brando turned the set into a nightmare. He improvised wildly, wore bizarre costumes, and clashed with everyone, including director Arthur Penn and co-star Jack Nicholson. The chaos frustrated the crew and derailed production. For Brando, it marked the beginning of his professional isolation. His erratic behavior became legendary, and though still bankable, he was now seen as unstable and difficult to work with. 10. One-Eyed Jacks, 1961, Carl Malden and Marlon Brando. Brando's only directorial effort, One-Eyed Jacks, was a mess from the start. The script ballooned out of control, shooting lasted over 6 months, and Brando's perfectionism pushed the cast to the edge. Co-star Carl Malden reportedly suffered emotional exhaustion, and the tension on set was unbearable. Though the film gained cult status, the experience strained friendships and left Brando disillusioned with directing forever. These films gave us unforgettable moments, but at a real cost. Behind every gunfight and sunset lies a story of pain most fans never hear about. If this side of Hollywood shook you, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more stories that cut deeper than the silver screen. And tell us in the comments, which of these stories shocked you the most?